Dominic Booth. Dominic, how are you doing, bud?
Very good, thank you, Ben. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you're on a late shift tonight, aren't you? So you're going to be working and corresponding, so to speak, as and when the late deals happen in the window tonight.
Yes, if there are any late deals, but yeah, I'll be there just to oversee if anything dramatic happens late in the window, which obviously you can never rule out.
No, you can't. And of course, United linked with a few players today, and as ever, a lot of outlets linking players randomly with Reds as players look to force moves in the latter stages of the window. We're going to come on to the one solid one that looks like it might happen: the outgoing of Mengi to Derby. Looks like he might be joining Wayne Rooney's Derby County side. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But before we do, Dominic. You've reported on quite a few transfer windows. How have you found this January compared to other windows?
Yeah, to be honest, at times I've forgotten that it is even a transfer window. It's been that quiet. I think, obviously the January window is not like the summer window. We do expect clubs to be a lot quieter. And I guess it's a good sign of a club having their house in order if they do have a quiet January window, because it sort of suggests they're not panicking. They've got a long-term strategy in place for the summer, and United have tried to get more towards a situation where they're doing that rather than last January. Obviously, signing Odion Ighalo late in the window, that was a bit of a strange one. I think I was actually at a gig in Cardiff when that one went through. I wasn't working that January deadline day. Then I worked the one in the summer where it was still a little bit panicky, and United did a lot of business with Pellistri and Tellez and obviously Cavani coming in all in one day. This time it's just been, I guess, because of the pandemic and other circumstances, financial circumstances surrounding United and a lot of other clubs, it's just meant it's a very quiet one. And yeah, it's been interesting. I think the only interesting part is those youngsters going out on loan, and there's a lot of interest in them. And United fans obviously be keeping an eye on them, on the likes of Mengi and others for the rest of the season. That's probably about as interesting as it going to get today for United fans.
Yeah, 100%. And I just want to say to anyone out there who's watching on any other platform than YouTube, come and join in on the live chat on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to our channel as well to win some apparel from Football Town. Your next chance to win will be tonight on the preview show. So hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, and come over to youtube.com/All for United. And of course, if you can only tune in for a little bit to the live show, search All for United, United Daily in your preferred podcast platform to be able to listen to this show in full in audio format. Right. And I think, Dominic, you've transitioned us nicely there. Let's talk about a guy who joined at the end of the summer transfer window, Pellistri. First of all, just a quick chat around the impression he's made since joining the club. What have you heard from how he's performed in first team training and playing for the under-23s?
Yeah, I think there's probably two slightly different things on those two issues. I think he has impressed in training. I think a lot of United coaches and people around the club are excited about him. It's obviously very difficult for him coming from Uruguay to Manchester, and at Manchester where we've had a hard winter with snow and cold weather and a lockdown, so he can't really get out and experience the place. He's been in between bubbles and under-23 training and then first team training. That they got to be very careful about how they transition players between those two groups. It would have been a lot easier in the past for players to move between them. So I think it's been a little bit tough for him. I think his first few under-23 performances I was at, and I have to say I wasn't particularly impressed by him. There were flashes of his talent, and again that transition period was pretty obvious in terms of how he had to adapt to what English football is like, albeit under-23 football. And then I think he did hit the ground running a little bit. I think he scored in 4 consecutive games, I think it was, for the under-23s, and started to really come into his own. So it is interesting that United have decided to loan him out now until the end of the season. Maybe they could have kept him until the end of the season for a few more under-23 games, but there probably wasn't that first team opportunity ready for him, especially with the title race that United are in. And I think United are going to take the FA Cup very seriously. So it came to pass really that it was a loan opportunity, and an interesting one. Obviously, a Spanish-speaking club where he might be a little bit more comfortable. It'll be interesting to see how much football he gets at Alaves and how he progresses. I do think there's a lot of talent there. Maybe it's just taken a bit of a while for it to come out.
Yeah, and I do think that this did come slightly out of left field because, as you said, it did seem to me that he was starting to pick up some form in the under 23. So, do you think that potentially the reason why we've pushed through with that loan deal because it was a perfect opportunity, like you said, the setting, Spanish speaking club. Also, apparently, he really wanted to have a crack at La Liga anyway. Plus, of course, it does look like they're struggling Alvarez a little bit, so he may be able to get some first team football in the league out there. But also B, Amad Diallo coming in and really impressing the United coaching staff. Do you think this is a way for them to speed up Pedestri's development and see what he's all about going out on loan?
Yeah, I think your point about Diallo is very valid, and I think the fact that Diallo came in, United paid a lot more for Diallo than Pelistri, and I think he's slightly more highly rated talent than Pelistri. We're probably likely to see Diallo in Europa League football. I think in the next few weeks when that restarts. I think that's likely, and I think United just wanted to take a look at Diallo maybe more in under 23s football, and then not restrict the playing time of others. Shola Shortire is one that they have high hopes for in the under 23s. Hannibal Mejbri, they always tend to play for the 23s, and I think that's been their sort of set as their development path for the next few months. So they didn't want to maybe upset that. And like you say, the opportunity there is there with Alaves. Although it is going to be tricky, I think, for him going into a relegation fight, which Alaves are in. So whether that calls for a player of his sort of luxury and flair, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe Spain is the perfect environment for that. I think United were keen not to send Pelistri to the Championship, where it maybe would have been a bit physical and it's not the right move at the right stage of his career. Could maybe see Pelistri at a Championship club next season, depending on how things go. But yeah, Diallo will be really one to watch. I think that was an exciting debut, wasn't it? Scoring twice on his under 23s debut against Liverpool. And Solskjaer has said that it's a matter of time before Diallo joins the first team group permanently. And yeah, we're definitely going to see that in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and it's really exciting for us as fans as well, because like you said, that debut was one to look at, and that highlights reel definitely does fill you with a lot of confidence that this kid has something special. Let's just see how that development goes. And like you said, with the fact that Diallo is likely to feature in the Europa League and now doesn't really have massive competition, it's not like we're going to have to, so to speak, substitute Pelistri's game time and development for Amad Diallo's development. It gives us an opportunity to see two young lads have opportunities. And look, with young kids like this, if you don't give them opportunities, they don't have a chance to take them. So it's down to them now to be able to take their opportunities. Some fantastic thoughts there on Pelistri. Let's move on to another young lad who plays out wide on the right. Tayyip Chong. I know his time at Werder Bremen and his playing time was limited. We saw some really good glimpses of him, didn't we, during their pre-season games. He looked fantastic for Werder, and it looked like he was going to get quite a bit of game time for them. However, all of a sudden, the loan was cut and is now at Club Brugge. What's the thinking behind that?
I think it's, again, just a matter of opportunities. And United's obviously done this with James Garner. They've switched his loan club. They've seen that he wasn't getting the opportunities at Watford under their new manager. So they quickly acted and got him out to a new loan club. I think it's good and proactive stuff, actually, from United in this regard. They did identify getting players out either on loan or managing to offload players permanently as their priority for this January window, because they knew that was going to be more straightforward than getting a big luxury signing of a 30-40 million player in. That wasn't going to be possible. I think with Chong, the time is ticking for him. I think he does need to take this opportunity at Bruges. It was a good opportunity for him at Werder Bremen. We've seen the Bundesliga provide that platform for a lot of young players coming from the Premier League recently. Jadon Sancho is an obvious one, but I think Reiss Nelson did well when he went to the Bundesliga. Other young English players have gone there and done pretty well. So I think Chong needs to really fire at Bruges for the next few months, and he's got another year after this left on his United contract. So the summer could be maybe a make or break time for Chong, depending on how it goes in the next few months.
Yep, I would certainly agree with that. He's one player who needs to shine. And you mentioned there James Garner. Really, he had a few. I was hearing from Watford fans who are around October, November time were actually saying they were extremely impressed with James Garner, and he was quickly starting to hold down a position and look like a very talented player there in the Championship. He's been quite influential for Watford. But obviously, new manager comes in, has a different way of playing, has different thought processes. Maybe brought in a couple of players on permanent deals, and obviously he's looking to develop loads over Garner, the loan signing. So in terms of at Nottingham Forest for James Garner, what do you want to see from him? Because United need a defensive midfielder. They need someone who can play the ball quickly, has a good eye for creativity, but can also defensively clean up well and put a team together. And James Garner at youth level has looked like he has all those attributes. He's just struggled a little bit with a physicality. So what would you personally like to see from Garner at Nottingham Forest? Do you think he can develop into giving Ollie a problem this summer?
Yeah, I do. I think he can probably develop into, a genuine first team squad player next season. United fans may not like that. They may want the club to sign a established defensive midfielder. I think they've been linked with a number of central midfielders. Declan Rice is the one that won't go away. Camavinga as well from Rennes has been touted as like the next Pogba in central midfield. Whether he's going to be a defensive midfielder or not, I doubt. And then there's Moises Caicedo, who United did show interest in earlier in this January window, and then they dropped that a little bit and they put it on the back burner. Maybe he could be one that they're going for again. In terms of Garner, I like him a lot, and I think this is a really good opportunity with Forest. One thing I'll worry about is how big Forest's squad is, and they do have a lot of players in that central midfield area, with a lot more experience as well. The likes of Harry Arter, they've got Luke Freeman's on loan from Sheffield United, I think, and they've got a couple of others in there as well whose name escaped me at the moment. But yeah, I want to see Garner basically do what he did at the start of the season with Watford. Like you say, he did adapt well to the Championship, where it could have maybe been a bit too much for him, but he's one of those players who's taken every opportunity that's come his way in his short career so far. I did like him a lot in the under-23s last season. So yeah, I'd like to see him kick on and just establish himself as a regular in the Forest team. And if he can do that and help them away from the relegation zone, that'll be a big test that he's passed.
Yeah, I do think sometimes with the summer transfer window, clubs take on young players to improve the depth of their squad. However, I do think in January, clubs take on younger players and loan opportunities to improve the side over the next 6 months to be able to do better, if that makes sense. So I actually think there's more, so to speak, credibility in a player taking a player on loan. Like they've got a plan for them to actually make a difference to the team when it comes to making that signing in January, a bit more than potentially in the summer transfer window. Whether that's because of long-term injuries happened and they need cover, but that cover is planned because they need someone in there to get game time. But like we're seeing now with Liverpool on the verge of signing potentially 2 defenders today. Those 2 defenders will play minutes for the Liverpool first team over the next 6 months because they're having an injury crisis. So I fully expect James Garner to get more minutes between now and the end of the season at Forest than he has done at Watford. And I think that's only going to be a good thing for his development. As you mentioned earlier on with Pellistri, the argument for not sending him to the Championship is because of the physicality. Well, Garner needs that physicality. That's where he needs to improve. So it's going to be really exciting to see how he develops. Just want to quickly give a shout out to Michael, Stewart, Jamie, Jacob. They're all in the live chat. Sorry if I missed anyone else. Tunhit is in there as well. If you're watching on any other platform apart from YouTube, come over, hit that subscribe button, youtube.com/All for United. We're rating the transfer window whilst also talking about some deals that could go through today. So keep it with us. We're going to chat about Mengi to Derby in a bit. But keeping on the young players, Dominic, we potentially have called out Aaron Wan-Bissaka this season for not being as good with his end product out on that right-hand side. No questions about him defensively, but the end product. We were linked with Max Aarons at the start of the window, who's very much a flair right back, loves getting forward. We already had a flair right back in our ranks in Ethan Laird. He has now gone out on loan, of course, to MK Dons. Is this also a fantastic opportunity to him? And in a position where we're slightly short, is it a risk letting Ethan Laird go out on loan to MK Dons at this stage?
It's an interesting one. Laird is a player I've always liked whenever I've seen in the under-23s, and I did think that he was definitely one for the first team squad. Probably you would have said a year ago or just over a year ago that he would have got in before Brandon Williams, but the kind of left-back situation at United last season gave Brandon Williams that chance, with Ashley Young going and Luke Shaw was injury-prone again last season. Obviously, those opportunities are now have eluded Williams really, and he's had to convert himself back into a right back really, where maybe he should be playing anyway. But in terms of Laird, I love this opportunity for him at MK Dons. I think it's really, really good for him. He needs to get out there and play regular football. I don't think it would have done him any good to sit behind Wan-Bissaka and potentially behind Williams and maybe even Tuanzebe when Solskjaer was considering first team right backs. So I think League One MK Dons is a really good one for Laird. He has struggled for fitness a little bit in the under 23, so he needs to get a run of games. He needs to get himself fit. He needs to just get used to the environment of playing regular professional football. And he's more than capable of doing very well at MK Dons. And then he can come back and United can make a decision on their right backs in the summer. It will be a really interesting decision that they do have to make when you think about Diogo Dalot, who's at AC Milan. Will they sign another right back? They were very interested in Kieran Trippier early in January, and I think they put that on the back burner because of those because of that suspension he was serving for breaking betting rules. They may consider going in for Trippier again on maybe a shortish term contract in the summer, and they've got Max Aarons there to consider as well, and whoever else they want to consider. So the right back situation is a very, very interesting one, but Laird can give them a good problem, by shining on loan at MK Dons, and I do rate his chances of doing that. I think he's a really talented lad.
Yeah, just quickly on quite a talented lad. I like that.
Very good. Sorry, very good.
Just make it. See, Jim White doesn't do this. He wears a shiny yellow tie, but does he come out with puns like that? No, he bloody doesn't. On the right back situation, Dominic, just quickly, and just I wasn't going to hit on this, but seeing as you mentioned it, I agree with you. I think United need an experienced right back. I wouldn't go personally for Max Aarons. I would go for Trippier, and I do think the only reason why United haven't taken that signing seriously is because potentially you can't play for another month even from this moment on. So I would like to see a decision made in the summer window. But with Dalot on loan at the moment, do you reckon that if Laird, everything goes well with him at MK Dons, that would be a player we're looking potentially to ship out in the summer?
I think Dalot, I think that it maybe Dalot's time at United is done, which is a shame if it is the case, because he was really promising, wasn't he? Especially in that period when Solskjaer first came in as caretaker manager. Dalot got some game time on the right wing, didn't he? And I think he played very, very well in a number of games. PSG played his part with the shot that obviously caused the handball from Kimpembe. And a lot of United fans have got a lot of time for Dalot, and he's only a young player. He's actually younger than Wan-Bissaka. I think he's still 21, Dalot, if I'm not mistaken. So to ship him off already, maybe it's just a clash of personalities. Maybe, I know, having spoken to Dalot on a couple of occasions, he is a very ambitious young guy who wanted to usurp Wan-Bissaka. He told me that after a few months of Wan-Bissaka being at Old Trafford. Dalot had played for the under-23s, coming back from an injury, and he said, I don't want to play in another position, right wing or left back, or be on the bench. I want to be United's first choice right back. And it's quite clear that Wan-Bissaka is here to stay, whether some fans like him or not. I think you can't really debate that Wan-Bissaka is a top player. I think he is improving going forward, and someone like a Trippier to come in just to offer that competition would be absolutely ideal for United. And that's why we haven't seen Dalot stay. That's why we've seen Laird go out on loan, because there's not really any point in him sitting behind Wan-Bissaka at the moment. And that's why Williams may grow frustrated if his opportunities don't come. So yeah, as I said, the right back situation is really, really interesting.
Yeah, I think we needed that cover from Williams between now and the end of the season. But I do think, I completely agree with you. I do think if we do get that right back in the summer, which we do need to make a decision on, you're completely spot on. I do think Williams potentially next year will spend a year out on loan, and given that opportunity that other players are being given now to develop. And that's quite exciting, because I do think that there's some really good talent there with Williams. I think he offers a bit of stability at right back or left back. He's just that type of player. He can do everything good. It's just whether now he can form a consistency of doing everything good, and he could end up being a fantastic squad option for United in the future. I'm not going to say that maybe not a first team option. Who knows? We've got to wait and see how he develops. But it just goes to show that we've got someone quite versatile there. A bit like a John O'Shea, Dominic, in Williams, where if he can kick on, you know that if he ever does get in the team, you'll be able to trust him to do a job. And that's a nice player to have in and around your squad. I just want to move on to someone who's been in and around the squad for some time now. Manchester United boy at heart. You guys at MEN have covered him for obviously years, developing through this side. Jesse Lingard, obviously now off and at West Ham on loan. What have you made of Manchester United within this whole Jesse Lingard situation? Do you think United have dealt with it well?
It's interesting with Lingard. I think he just had to get out. I think he needed a change of scenery. It's a shame, really, that it's come to this, because I think Lingard has been a player with a lot to offer. We all remember his performances for England at the 2018 World Cup, and he had that really hot spell under Jose Mourinho at United with scoring goals, and he was excellent when Solskjaer first came in as well. He was in the first choice team there. I remember watching him score a couple at Cardiff and Solskjaer's first game when United won 5-1. I was actually covering Cardiff back then, but I remember seeing Lingard play really well, full of confidence. But it's obviously ebbed away. He's had difficult circumstances off the field. He's had players then come in his position and do very well. Bruno Fernandes being the obvious one. Mason Greenwood's overtaken him. So it's one of those where it's gone a little bit stale and stagnant. A move was best for absolutely everybody. And I would predict that Lingard has played his last game for United with his contract due to expire in the summer. But that's no bad thing. I think sometimes, like Solskjaer has said himself, you need to consider what's best for the player. And this was definitely the best thing for Jesse Lingard. And I think most United fans wish him well. He has taken a lot of stick from United fans in the last couple of years. But I think most think that this is a good move for everyone and wish Lingard all the best.
So I believe United have got 1.5 million in loan fees for him, and West Ham are covering the wage. So for you now, is it a case of he's there to impress to then get that free transfer in the summer? Because I didn't actually know Lingard's contract was up this summer. I still thought there was a potential of another year. But then thinking back, he signed that extra year during the summer, didn't he, to take him through to this summer? So for you now, is it the fact that Lingard is playing for a lucrative contract elsewhere?
Yeah, he's playing for his future. He's playing to prove that he can still play at the top level. I think he can. I think West Ham is a really good level for him if he shines there. I think David Moyes will give him opportunities for sure. He's obviously in a team that is playing pretty well at the moment with other good attacking players around him, Antonio and Bowen, etc. So I can see him doing well there. And if not, then there won't be a shortage of interest in his services, I don't think. Even Premier League interest and possibly abroad as well. There was interest from Sheffield United this month. I think they've taken a slightly interesting tack and they've decided not to really sign any players, maybe safeguarding their future if they go down as expected. That would be an interesting one if maybe Lingard went back to the Championship perhaps. Yeah, I think he didn't particularly fancy jumping straight into a relegation battle. I don't think that was quite the right move for him at this stage. But yeah, we'll have to take a look. Maybe he does really well and maybe United extend his contract. I'd see that as unlikely, but there's still a chance.
Anything can happen at this stage. Anything can happen.
That's a very Jim White thing to say as well, isn't it? Anything can happen.
What can I say? I'm Jim Whiting it today. That's what it is. I just want to hit into to some actual permanent departures now, and it does look like Rojo's finally going to get his move back to Argentina to Boca Juniors. I said Argentina, really weird. Then is it going to be a straight rip up of the contract and him free to go on his own accord? Are you expecting that to go through today?
Well, it doesn't have to go through today because the Argentinian window stays open until February. But I do think there's going to be some sort of agreement to, like you say, rip up his contract 6 months earlier than it was due to expire. I think nobody would argue with that. The United fans have probably had enough of Marcos Rojo. I think Marcos Rojo has probably had enough of Manchester United. It was probably an ill-advised transfer, wasn't it, on the back of the 2014 World Cup. And Louis van Gaal's sort of obsession with having left-footed players at centre-back on the left side of his back three, that was where it really stemmed from. And Rojo's had spells where he's looked the real deal. He's had spells where he's looked far too rash and like he can get sent off at any moment. And I think Solskjaer has done the right thing by just steadily moving away from Marcos Rojo. He did it obviously with Chris Smalling and sending him on loan. Phil Jones hasn't really featured under Solskjaer wisely enough in my view, and it's doing that slow process of just evolving United's back line so that they don't have to rely on these players who are A, injury prone, and B, very inconsistent. And that has been the story of Rojo at United. It's been a bit of a sad end to it when he did offer promise at times, like I said, but yeah, time for a new change of scenery for him and for United.
Talking about consistency, Mr. Consistent, Romero, didn't get a move in the summer. Is there any potential at all of him leaving a club today?
I don't think so, from my understanding, which surprises me greatly. I think any Premier League club really outside the top six would probably have Sergio Romero as their first choice goalkeeper. I think Everton considered him in the summer. I think Brighton considered him this month, but it just doesn't appear to be happening for him, which is a great shame. He's far too good a goalkeeper to basically be on gardening leave from United, which is basically what's happening at the moment. He's not featuring in the first team squad. He's not really training with the first team squad. Obviously, we had that rant from his wife last deadline day, who were furious with United for not allowing him to go. She felt quite rightly that he deserved, to be playing somewhere or to be valued somewhere at least, even if he was the number 2 goalkeeper. He obviously has a great record at United with his performances in the Europa League and in the cup competitions. United should have maybe stuck with him for more of those key semi-finals, especially under Solskjaer, when he went back to De Gea and it backfired, especially in that FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea last year. So I feel sorry for Sergio Romero. He's a really good pro and he's a good player. And yeah, United also got a fantastic goalkeeping department at the moment with De Gea and Dean Henderson. And Sergio Romero should be playing somewhere else. That's the top and bottom of it, really.
I completely agree with that. And I feel sorry for the guy as well, because at the end of the day, he was consistent, but United have made the right decision. Dean Henderson, I personally think is the future, and he has to be in and around that squad now. And unfortunately for Romero, that's him done at the club. And it's sad to say that, but it is the right decision to shoehorn him out. I'm just slightly concerned that we haven't been able to let him go. But as is quite consistent with United here, Dom, it seems to be that if we can't terminate a contract with a good resolution, we just have to let it run out, because the wages are too high for players in and potentially around that top 6 or below. The wage is just too high for them to take on that responsibility right now in this pandemic, isn't it? So is it just a waiting game for Romero, something that potentially will happen in the summer?
Yeah, it will happen in the summer. But what it does is it shows the incompetence, really, and just the unwise decisions that were made in terms of contracts 2 or 3 years ago. With Rojo handed a bumper new deal, Phil Jones handed a big deal, Andreas Pereira not long ago was handed a big deal, and now he's out on loan and will probably be loaned out again in the summer. United got a lot of things wrong 2 or 3 years ago, especially in the Mourinho era. Not all of it Mourinho's fault, a lot of it the fault of Ed Woodward and Matt Judge in the boardroom. But Solskjaer is at least getting United to learn from those mistakes, I think, and I think they are making sounder decisions on contracts in the last year or two, but they're still paying the price for those errors earlier on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. I just want to hit on a couple more names with you, if possible, Dominic. So one of the names that I want to throw at you is Mengi. It looks like last night it broke that Derby and Manchester United are in talks about a possible loan deal there. Wayne Rooney really wants him to join up in the squad. For you, do you know when these talks first started and how the talks are progressing?
I think there's been interest from a number of Championship clubs throughout the window. I think it was quite tentative and just sort of initial interest being shown throughout January. And then I understand that as recently as Sunday morning, Derby really made their move for Mengi. And I think he did go there for talks with his agent. And as I understand, that's still progressing now. And I do expect that one to go through. Really interesting that it's a club with Derby's caliber, really. They're a big side, big Championship team. There's obviously the Wayne Rooney link there as well. Mengi, he's got everything really to shine in the Championship. There should be no issues with physicality, no issues with his ability on the ball, and sort of his confidence in himself and his leadership qualities as well. That's all been apparent in the under-23s, especially last season. I think this season's been a bit tougher for Mengi. There's been a couple of games, especially in the under-21s trophy when they played league sides, where Mengi has struggled. There was one at Morecambe where he was really taken apart and the United defence was taken apart, which I went to see. But this is a really great opportunity. If he can prove himself and get a regular slot in the Derby first team in the Championship, then United fans can be really excited about Mengi next season, stepping into a third or fourth choice centre-back role in the first team squad for sure.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, this one with Mengi and Derby. As you say, it looks like they've let a couple of youngsters go Derby, and they've managed to drum up about a couple of £1 million. And I thought that Rooney would go and splash some cash, but coming back to United with the good ties and relationship there, looking at our youth ranks and looking at potentially bringing in a young lad like Mengi, who has all the potential in the world. He just needs the opportunity and needs to take it now. Of course, we saw Tuanzebe go to Aston Villa on loan in the Championship, Dom, and he looked phenomenal there. And I think the way both players are built are similar, and they're sort of similar in the way that they defend as well. I'd just say that maybe Mengi is a little bit more powerful and has a bit more of a presence about him than Tuanzebe does. Did you think that this is an opportunity now, especially with United desperate for a centre-back next to Maguire? Do you think this is the perfect opportunity for Mengi to really cement a place in the first team squad next year?
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And it's win-win for United because they're interested in signing a centre-back for the first team anyway in the summer. So it's sort of like if Mengi can prove himself and step up, then, well, we'll give him a chance. And that's a few £1 million saved. If not, we'll go after somebody like an Upamecano or a Ben White or a Jules Koundé from Sevilla, all players that United are definitely aware of and interested in and admirers of. I think Mengi's got the mobility, which is absolutely key in the Championship. I think he's got the pace. He's got that, just the ability to read the game very well. And obviously, this is a huge step up from under-23s football. You're going up against 28, 29-year-old big physical strikers. I'm thinking somebody like Kiefer Moore at Cardiff or something like that. How are you going to deal with that? And if Mengi can overcome that as a challenge, then it's a huge feather in his cap.
Yeah, Derby haven't been in a great place this season at all, and they really need to strengthen up at the back. And if Mengi can come in and start commanding that defence, because let's not forget, he's captained United at every level so far. He has fantastic leadership qualities about him. Ollie has always said Mengi could, if his talent allows him, he could be a future club captain for Manchester United. And Ollie's seen plenty of captains at this club. So I think it's really important that Mengi goes there, isn't shy, and hits the ground running, because I do think we've got a gem of a player there. And I've entered this debate so many times that I hope Axel proves me wrong and does really come on and establish himself as a first team player. But the defender I'm most excited at Manchester United about is Mengi. And I really hope this loan move does him the world of good. And I actually think if this transfer was in the pipeline 2 or 3 years ago, it wouldn't have happened. And I think it goes to show the slight different ideology from the Man United coaches and the board to get these young players out on loan to have that opportunity. So this is fantastic news for the club, and I hope it gets done. Dominic, one last area, strikers. Just first of all, quickly from you, United completely right to obviously let Ighalo's loan deal fizzle out and allow him to now go on to pastures new.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a big credit to Ighalo, especially what he did when he first came in with that run of goals in the cup competitions. Really drove United to the semi-finals in the League Cup and the FA Cup, you have to say, and probably the Europa League with that stunning goal against Lask, which everyone will remember very fondly. But yeah, as soon as Edinson Cavani came in the summer, you knew that Ighalo's days were numbered. He did offer something a bit different when he came on in games, a proper number 9 with a physical presence, which Anthony Martial, that's not really his game. But yeah, everyone wishes Ighalo well. I think from United's point of view, I think he lived the dream in a way, didn't he? He came as a boyhood United fan and got to wear the shirt, and he didn't disgrace himself, I don't think, at all. It's quite a nice story, that, really, for Ighalo's point of view. But from United, they needed to get a higher caliber of player. Obviously, Cavani has absolutely provided that. Yeah,
I do agree with that. And I also agree that it's fairy tale stuff. It really is. They make movies out of stories like Ighalo's.
There's hope for all of us.
Fantastic. There is hope. One day I will wear a proper Manchester United jersey at Old Trafford. It's going to happen at some point. And one final name. I know MEN have done some reporting on this because obviously you cover all external and foreign news outlets to try and just bring the latest news to everybody. Dzeko's just so bloody desperate for a move. His agents resorted to linking him to United by the looks of it. Fabrizio's come out and said that deal just isn't going to happen at the moment. There's just no interest there from United. You don't expect to see United randomly bring in a player like that now, do you? Is this for you the window done as soon as we can get Mengi out?
Yeah, I look forward to me saying I don't expect anything to happen, and then this clip being shared when United going on Edin Dzeko at 5 minutes to 11. But I don't expect it to happen. We've seen last gasp moves for experienced strikers late in the last two windows, Igalo and then Cavani. I will say I don't think that this one will happen at all. I don't think United need a player like Edin Dzeko. To be honest, they've got Edin Cavani. You know, he's an upgrade on Edin Dzeko as it is. I like Dzeko as a player. I think there might be a Premier League club out there that will fancy him and will take a punt until the end of the season, maybe. But no, I don't expect anything major really to happen late in this window. It's a nice change really for United. They've got the house in order with the signing of young players like Diallo and Pellistri. They don't feel the need to act in a pandemic hit January window late in the day, which I think all United fans will have to see as a big positive for the club's planning and the structure.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's a lot of questions coming in about potential summer signings. But Dominic, I think seeing as we're still within the January window, we're going to save those and potentially we'll do a bit of a transfer Q&A in a few weeks' time or closer to the summer to chat about those things. I am not ready yet, Jamie, to talk about Jadon Sancho. Let's just give it a few weeks first. We'll get there at some point.
In the future, can't we?
We could do a whole show on that. But just quickly, before we end off the podcast today, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/All for United. We've got some fantastic Football Town apparel up for grabs. Your next chance to win on the channel will be later on tonight, or whenever you're listening, just catch some of our live shows for your chance to win. Additionally, if you want to listen back to this whole podcast in audio format, please show your love and follow our podcast. Just search All for United, United Daily in your preferred podcast platform. Final point of view from you, Dominic, and then I'll have a bit of a say. It's been a slightly different window for United. We've seen us send a lot of players on loan, sort of in that Chelsea format that they used to do. But I actually am quite excited by the opportunities that they've managed to find for our young players. And I'll dig in a bit deeper into that in a minute. We obviously haven't bought anyone in. As you mentioned there, you think that that's quite a sensible thing from United. But if you have to give it a bit of a rating out of 10, I know it's always disappointing when we don't sign anyone. But in terms of how United have handled themselves in this January window, how would you rate the window?
It's an interesting one. It's hard to rate, like you say, because there is no sort of major incoming, and the young stars like Diallo, you know, we remain to be seen how they do at the club. But I think I'd go for a 7 because of how they've done with the outgoings. People needed to leave the club. The likes of Lingard, Rojo, the loans for the younger players. I think that's all very positive. And what I like is that United are doing it, like we said with Mengi, at an earlier age. They're not letting players stay in the under-23s till they're 21, 22, and then making a decision. And then often those players then struggle and don't particularly make the grade. They have to find out earlier if they're going to be good enough for the club. With Mengi and Pellistri, we're certainly going to find that out. So, I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. It would have been an 8 or a 9 if they'd brought in a stellar name in terms of an incoming. But like I've said, for the multiple reasons explained before, that's just not been possible.
And I think you are completely right. Also, January is a tough window to bring in that star player. Let's not forget, we chased Bruno around the park in the summer. I couldn't get hold of him. And then we just managed to land that deal that we needed. And Sporting obviously needed the money as well at that point. To bring him in the club in January. So you do get these odd signings here and there in the January transfer window, but they're not easy to come by unless you really splash that cash. The world we live in at the moment, businesses cannot splash that cash. Manchester United is also a business. Let's not forget that. So you can't go and sign a Sancho in this window or a massive player, because also these big players are integral to the club's season. They can't just let players go like that. So, you know, star-studded signings and signings are always going to be difficult. I do think that we would have signed Kieran Trippier if it wasn't for the gambling. I honestly think that there was enough there for United to want to get him, and enough there for United to go out and get him. But again, I still think that can wait till the summer. I'm not worried about us waiting to the summer for that one. But I also think that we've seen something from United in this window, from the board or the club, that shows some understanding about developing footballers. And that is quite exciting, because we've seen our transfers and the way that we bring players in and the way we deal with bringing players into the club. We've seen that model change under Ollie and the coaching staff. We've actually gone out and got targets that we needed within a certain profile that have suited our club and our history. And I think that the way that we are now treating our younger players at under 23 levels and the way that we're getting them out on loan, I like it. I really, really like it. A loan system there is to be utilised. If you can find players the right opportunity, and I'm on about the right opportunity. I'm not on about sending Zaha to to a Cardiff who are clearly going to get relegated to get experience, to completely dent his confidence? What about sending players to clubs where they can make a difference? Send players to clubs where they can develop and they can get better and they can improve. I really believe that Mengi has the opportunity at Derby to establish himself as a first team footballer. I really believe if James Garner can get that chance on loan at Nottingham Forest, he again can do that as well. Pellistri, look, Amad Diallo has shocked the club with how frigging good he is. Don't get that wrong. He has. That is evident, and with the way that and everything we're hearing from inside the club, and Dominic can back that up. Amad Diallo has come in and shocked absolutely everyone. So when you need to develop Amad Diallo and speed up his positioning into the team and to get him up to that level, without hindering Pellistri, Pellistri just had to go out on loan to further develop. And that's quite exciting. I think the moves are right. The moves work. As you said, the move to La Liga makes sense with the language, with the physicality of the league and where he is at the moment as a player. Every single move United have made this month is exciting, and I'm quite excited about it. And just one comment I want to bring up here. Brendan says loans destroy youth players. But Brendan, if you also have a look at under 23, at the under 23 level at the moment, the under 23s do not develop players like reserve team level used to. So you have to utilize the loans. If you don't utilize the loan aspect of being able to send players out on loan, the problem you've got is you're then selling players to clubs, allowing them to develop at different clubs at different levels, and then inserting buyback options. So I actually think loans at the moment are the best way, and I'm quite looking forward to seeing how our players develop out on loan. Dominic, I don't know if you want to say anything off the back of anything I've just said there.
No, I agree. I like the way that United are acting at the moment. I think it is a more considered fashion. I think it's something to be excited about with those younger players. The only caveat is loans can destroy young players if they're not the right opportunity. Like you said, they can be a setback. I remember speaking to Nick Powell about a year ago now about the loans he had away from United and how they disrupted him, and he came back to United not knowing what was what. You know, there needs to be regular contact between the coaching staff. I think the likes of Nicky Butt at United are very good at doing that and managing the situation. I'm hoping to get an interview with someone from United to talk about their loan policy after the window is closed. That may be one to look out for. It'd be interesting to get the thinking behind the club about every single loan deal, every single youngster, and how they're monitoring that development, how they came to the decisions about which club is right for them. And it will only be proven in time whether these clubs are right for the young players. Forest, it may be the interesting one with Garner with their big squad. Mengi, is he ready for the Championship? These are questions that will be answered in time, and United will either be vindicated or otherwise.
But then also, as you said earlier on, I think with those questions that are outstanding, the clubs can only give the opportunities and get the right moves, what they feel. It's now down to the players to go out there and take that opportunity, isn't it? And that's where we see how good they actually are. Dominic, thank you so much for joining me on Deadline Day. I know you've got a busy evening coming up. Please, guys, go check out Manchester Evening News. Go and check out Dominic personally as well for any movements that may happen on Deadline Day tonight. We're just expecting Mengi to go, and we're waiting for confirmation of obviously Mengi to go on loan to Derby. Let me not mix up the words there, but we're also waiting for the confirmation of Rojo's contract being terminated and him getting a move away from the club. Dominic, thanks again. We'll catch up again soon. United Daily will be back tomorrow morning at 11:30, where we're going to tactically look at the Southampton game, preview Southampton tonight. Subscribe to the channel, check us out in your podcast format and make sure, podcast platform, and make sure you follow us over there. For now, it's ciao. Stay safe, guys, and have a decent day. Cheers, Dom.
Thanks. Cheers.